Hi guys, in today's tutorial we'll learn how to cut and sew the satin skirt, which you can actually rock with any top of your choice. So if there's something that you're interested, please stick to this video and let's get started. So to begin, I will just be needing my hip measurements, my waist measurements, and also the length of my skirts. So here I have actually with 2 yards of Duchess, or you can call it satin material. As you can see, it has a shiny face, so I'm going to be working with 2 yards here. And then also I'm going to be having my drafted paper, which I'm going to be using in this video. Okay, so next I'll go ahead is to actually open up my fabric, although I've already placed it on a single fold, which I'm going to clearly show you here. So this is just me opening it. So here it's already on a single fold, and after aligning them properly, I'll go ahead to fold it for a second time, making it a 4 folding. Okay, so you can see here that this part here is already folded. As you can see, I folded it 4 because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. So here is the side, and this part is going to be the front and the back. Okay, here I don't need a zipper allowance because the zip is going to be at the side and not behind. Okay, like we do have our trousers. So this is basically what we need. And here I've gone ahead to draft out what I'll be needing for my skirt. So I've gone ahead to cut out the paper. Sorry that I didn't do this in the tutorial. I did it off camera without recording. I didn't know, so I'm going to just explain it for you. I'm going to be working with 28 inches for my skirt length, but I'm going to be adding 2 extra inches. 1.5 inch is going to be going for the hemming at the down part of the dress, or you can actually weave yours if you want to, while the remaining half from the 2 inches is going to be used for the up part of the dress, that's the waist part, which I'm going to be turning with a facing. Now I'm going to determine my hip line, and my hip is actually 9, but I'm going to be working with what, 10 inches. That's the length. Okay, so I'm going to be working with 10 inches because at the up part of my waist I'm going to be turning it with a facing, and for me to turn it to the facing I actually need what, half inches allowance, right? And that is why I came down by what, 10 inches down instead of 9, which is my hip line. I'm going to come down by what, 10 inch as the hip line, so that when I do the facing, everything can balance back to 9 or 9.5. Okay, so that is why I came down by what, 10 inches. So now next I'm going to go over to do is to determine my horizontal measurement. After getting my vertical lines, I'll go ahead to determine my waist, which is 32 divided by 4. I got 8. Then I'll go ahead and add my sewing allowance of 1.5. So next I'll go ahead to determine my hip line, which is divided by 4. I'm going to have 9.5 plus my allowance, which I've added there. After doing that, now I'm going to take my ruler and connect that down in an A-line form from that place. Okay, so just understand that from the hip part to the waist is actually fitted. That was why I just connected 2 of them to this point before making the hip line down to the length of the skirt to be in an A form pattern. So next I'll go ahead to do is to do the slash and spread method. That was why I created the center line, and how I was able to get that line that you're seeing there is that from the front center front of the skirt I went in by 4 inches, and I was able to connect it down to the full length of the dress. Okay, that's from the hip line. Okay, so once I do that, I will be able to open it up and stop at that hip line, because it is that point that the fitness of the skirt ended. Okay, so what I'm going to basically do now is to just open it. So just know that the reason why I'm opening it is that the down part is free, but the hip part down to the waist is actually tight, or should I say fitted. So I'm just going to use my pin now to secure this down, while making sure that the part that is slashed is actually open before I can proceed to cutting out what I actually need for this tutorial. So having cut that out, I will go ahead to remove my pin, and next I'll go ahead to do is to open up my dress. And this is basically what I have. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to open the slash this opened here, because it was actually on fold, remember, so that I can have now my back and front. So after doing that, now I will go ahead to cut out a facing for the dresses. Okay, so Here, as you can see, this is actually the front and the back. So now for the facing, I've gone ahead to actually use a stay. Sorry that I actually used the white stay. I don't have a black one with me, so I'm just going to get my facing now, and I'll go ahead and sew it by 1/2 inch, iron it, and then turn it over. Okay, so I'm just going to do that off the camera. So I'll take it to my machine now and do that. And after doing that, this is basically what we are going to have. Okay, so you can see that it's turning out beautiful. You can see the back of the dress, and this is basically what it looks like as well. So I've gone ahead to do it for both the front and the back of the dress. So next, and also I went ahead to hem the down part of my skirt. So next I'll go ahead to do now is to actually join the dresses together, which I'll be doing that it at the sides. Okay, so remember that we actually left 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So here I'm just going to mark 1.5 inch at the waist here, and then I'm going to connect it down to the hip and then down to the full length of the dress. Okay, so I'm just going to get my ruler now, and I will go ahead and connect them together, and after which I'm done, I'm going to replicate it to the other side of the dress, just as you see me do in this tutorial. Okay, so once I am done doing that now, next I'll go ahead to do is to actually join the two sides together. If you remember earlier, I stated that our zip is going to be at the side of the dress, okay, and not at the back. So here is going to be our front skirts. Okay, so I'm just going to label here the front, and then that means this part is going to be our right side, which I'm just going to label, and here will be the left side. Okay, so I want my zip to actually be at the left and not at the right, so that was why I labeled it this way. So to put my zip now, what I'm going to basically do is to measure at the left side 8 inches. That is the length of my zip. Okay, so I'm just going to measure 8 inches there. So while I'm sewing, I will make sure that I begin my stitch from this side down, and then at the other part is going to be left open because I'm going to be putting my words zip. Then I'll go ahead and sew the right side from the beginning of the skirt down to the length of the skirt. Okay, and this is basically what it looks like. So I've gone ahead to put my zip, and everything has come out so beautiful and nice and so neat, and I've actually gone ahead to give it a good press. Okay, so if you enjoy watching this video and find it very helpful, please hit the subscribe button, like, and also share. Thank you, and